and today I'm going to talk about Dangerous Thoughts by James L. Steele, which, a while ago, it was mostly the cover that drew me to it, it's just freaking amazing. I totally forgot the artist. Who is it? Theme Finland, that's right, they do a bunch of fantasy stuff, and I saw it a couple months ago. I think it's been out for a year or so now, maybe a bit longer. 2018, so it came out last year. So so I quite like James's work. I've read his other stuff under his other name, Tagana. And so I was thinking, I read everything, and I really wanted to get into this, but I wanted to read Huvik, which is why I read that a while ago. And I really glad I did, because it let me get more used to the writer and see more what I wanted to see them work on. And, they were paid it and very happily. So Dangerous Thoughts follows Kyla and Decker, who are two Archeons from the planet Rel. The Archeons are fairly rare. So the Archeons from the planet Rel. So Rel is one of the few hub worlds, they're kind of big, I guess, in the contacted universe, but I don't think they're the be-all and end-all. I think it's more just circumstance with this story, because we do find other hub worlds. So at least that's what I'm drawing from it. So Kylak, the bipedal fox character, I'm not sure how much I want to get into in the fox species of Rel, because it is a bit of spoilers. What I've got kind of clearly is that the fox species of Rel, they're anxious about new scents, because their sense of smell is really strong, and so Kylak, who's one of the bipedal fox species from the planet Rel, along with the other second species, the raptor, like Decker. He's on the cover. So I'm not sure how much I want to get into it, because it is a bit spoilers. The kind of symbiotic relationship that the raptor and the foxes have, it plays a bit greater deeper on. So I'll be a little bit coy with it. So what I've got here is the fox species of Rel are anxious with new scents, and the raptors of Rel help them kind of deal with this and tune it into a kind of a sexual tension, which they can release kind of healthily by fucking things in the known universe, to put it bluntly. And so there's hints about reverting, and it's not just the fox species of Rel. It comes up in the other planets they visit, which I guess I'll get into a little bit later. And it's really quite interesting, how that common theme, while initially I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of just by the book, this planet has that problem. I was like, well, no, it's in the context of the story, this is just how the universe works, and I need to get into that kind of mindset. And it definitely helped the further I got along, where the deviations from the norm worked out. So Decker, who's the raptor species of Rel, I really loved the artistic rendition that Theme Finland did on the front cover there. So he and Kylak have been partners for ever since they've been young now, because the raptor bonds with the fox, I think it was mentioned that. So the one thing I guess I've touched lightly is I'm not too sure what the fox species brings to the raptor. I didn't, at least if I caught onto it, I didn't remember. That's one thing. Yeah, I think it's more just, more the companionship. It stops them from, the raptors from being just mindless killing insects. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. But, so they've been partners ever since they've been young. And they've been Archeons ever since they've been young. I'm pretty sure, it's kind of touched on, they were very young, even when they started using portal physics. So I guess with that, I'll go into portal physics. So basically, when a species on a planet, when they find out that they can help each other and work together. They gain a greater conscious of the universe, and through this greater conscious of the universe, by working together, there's certain special people that are more in tune with it, I guess. Like they have leanings to it, and then they use that to kind of focus on the universe by paying attention to the subconscious, because the subconscious is always taking stuff in. Your brain just chooses not to consciously acknowledge it. So so it's interesting. Like I quite like it. Doesn't go super in depth, but yeah. So by focusing, like honing this, you tune your subconscious into your conscious, so you're naturally aware of everything, every sound, every sense, every emotion, every kind of cue. Your brain picks up. You're consciously aware of it instead of subconsciously, and this leads to a more intelligent way of being intelligent, and just being more empathetic and sympathetic of people and other people. And it's really quite interesting. Like once you kind of work out to focus on that, I think it's about a quarter of the way in the story. Everything kind of pans in. Like you're not so focused on, I guess, how portal physics work, which portal physics works by the theory that one atom, or any atom anywhere in the universe, can affect any atom in anywhere in the universe. And then by the use of complex, what was mathematics, did I say? Computational mathematics, you can create portals between 2 points in the universe. But you have to, know of the place you're going to. You can't just think of it. You have to know everything about it, like where it is on the planet, how the planet's spinning, where it is in its rotation around the sun, and it's really quite interesting. Like the times that it's more Decker talks about it, which I quite like. So hopefully I explained that kind of well, because the book does do it. Hopefully, the book does like an amazing kind of job, kind of pacing it out. Like there's a little things I would have preferred to have caught on to a bit sooner, but for how alien these concepts are to me as the reader, who's leaning more to sci-fi a bit lately, it was nice for me. Like, while I did have questions early on, I knew that they were going to be explained. I just had to, focus on the now rather than like, well, I don't care about this planet. Just tell me about X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, no, that's not the point, So, the greater story after all, before. So the greater story is there's this calamity, there's this destruction. The Deck and Kylak's homeworld, Rel, is destroyed. They're on Rel at the time, which is something I'm glad it didn't explicitly say until kind of late towards the book. Like, because it let you kind of think on your own, like, well, where were they at the time? Were they at Rel? How do they not know what happened? And then that bleeds into, I guess, the subconscious and conscious awareness. Because, so I'm trying to talk about things without going out of order. So with the destruction of Rel, they luckily survive by jumping through the nearest portal, and they find that they're unfortunately the extremely lucky ones. They go from planet to planet and they still haven't found any other Relians alive. The ones they do find are horribly mangled and disfigured, which is explained a bit later, which I caught on pretty much the first time. But that's so I guess I'll bleed into that now. So why that's interesting is because the destruction of Rel and the harm that it did to their minds, like through the conscious and subconscious awareness, or just the greater conscious awareness as Archeons, and other Archeons in the contacted universe, and other Archeons in the contacted universe, is that that destruction and that being in tune to the universe while that destruction was going on hurt their mind. And it's interesting how it's it's subtly hinted. Mostly it doesn't explicitly say it, but that hurting of the mind, or actually it does explicitly say it about halfway through. It does explicitly say it about halfway through. That hurting of the mind didn't just affect them from making portals. It affected them in their awareness of the world around them. So while there's points where the reader's like, well, how have you not caught on what's going on? Like, the reader, can tell what's going on. But you need to keep in mind that they're not aware because their mind is hurt. And then it causes distress in them. And I actually quite liked that. It was a really interesting kind of technique that he used throughout it. And I think it kind of, this is my theory, but this also explains, I guess, how much, well, obviously, after disaster, they're being, I guess, very pragmatic about things. Like, as much as they want to go searching for more Relians around the universe, they want to go find Decca's partner Deja and her hatchlings. They want to find the other Archeons of Rel, Rive and Friend. But they're being pragmatic about that. Like, okay, well, the destruction of these portals isn't just, it's rippling out massively across the contacted universe. And while the first planet they go to, thankfully, their Archeon isn't as hurt. They only had a short coma. But they're managing to build portals and keep their civilization alive. As they go from other planet to planet, it's not so happy. There's a couple they go to where civilization is on the precipice of collapse, and it's only by their intervention, by focusing on the now, that they manage to help these planets. And I quite like that. So hopefully I did a really nice job of explaining what is it. I don't know, it's a fairly complex book, trying to summarize it, because the book does a really nice way of explaining it in terms of pace. So one thing I do want to, touch on, rather than going into spoilers, because I think it is an incredibly enjoyable book, going in fairly blind, as I did. So I'll go through. So I'll touch a little bit on, the whole planet hopping part of the story, which is obviously the main crux of the story is they're trying to find survivors and work out what happened. But it really shows to James's talent as a as a writer, in terms of making interesting species, and not just and kind of deviating from the norm in terms of if I had to think of two symbiotic species, they would probably revolve around simple predator-prey fins and normal mammals and stuff like that. I wouldn't have gone so it kind of some of them are extreme, some of them kind of interesting. So you got cool things the first planet they go to, Movar, is a very kind of typical planet. The two species, the four-legged mammals, which I kind of envisioned as glowy woolly mammoths, and then the two-legged light-absorbing dinosaurs, which are fairly kind of similar to the two Relians, so the Deca, the raptor, and Kylak, the fox. And then it kind of deviates from there. The next one's a planet of birds and fish and how they work together. And the links they go to remain in communication. Obviously it's very hard for birds and fish to talk, so it's really quite interesting how they built these trees and their whole life around and keeping communication with the fish, and how once they realized that the fish were living underneath them in the water, there was this other sentient species, they didn't really, they worked out how much their life affected the life under the water, and then they kind of banded together to resolve not to do this through extreme cleanliness and measured responses to things. And like you got like kind of more interesting plot related things, like so you got like the healing saber tooths of Celta. Well, I would say the other planet, Lisa, was the most interesting with the species of sentient species of manta rays in the sky and blobs that communicate in lights or UV lights. I'm not sure. I think it was just lights that showed on their spine or their band or something like that. I can't quite remember where the light bar was, but they communicated in colours and lights, in UV lights and other kind of forms of light radiation. And then about halfway through, like once you adjust to these planets, you go to Hive, which is one of the most kind of scary planets, I guess. So Heath is one of the more scary planets, like with this ecosystem of like incredibly aggressive flora and fauna, all competing for I'm pretty sure it was the light. There's something with the radiation from the sun in that planet. I can't quite remember it, but they're all competing for it, and this highly aggressive ecosystem adapted, and it was quite interesting. And then towards the end of it, there's one of the more kind of gruesome descriptions of this mammal off-world species having half their blood expunged from their body through every pore. It's kind of ugh. It's just Deco Kylac and just completely, and the two what do you call it, translators, 9 legs that are attached to them, are just cool with this, and I'm just oh yeah, bring out the fucking guns and murder these bugs. I know they're sentient species, but that's the colonial marine in me. Too scary. Don't want to talk. And then there's some brevity, once I guess the high tension is down, where there's this female scary monster bug. It was called what was it called? Yimidirin? It's probably pronounced Yimidiri. Yimidirin? Yeah, probably Yimidirin. And first, I just got my head. It was Kawagumon from Digimon, which is the big red beetle, and I'm sure the description was nothing like that, but that's what I had in my head. So when I coyly hinted that Kylac fucked this female Yimidirin in Heat, that's what I was thinking of. And yes, there's at first I was getting a bit of mixed feelings about how I guess sexual Kylac was. I was thinking back on some of the more I guess draining bits of Huvik. While it was supplemental to the plot, it was a bit grating. After a while, I was and then what was his name? I totally forgot his name. It's got an O, an E, and an N in it somewhere. I can't remember. And him, constantly clashing and then bonding with people. And I get it, but it's there's times where you couldn't walk 5 seconds without clashing with someone, and I'm can I just get to A to B? But yeah, so it was, I was feeling that early on, and it once I got into it and shifted my point of view, it was actually, I enjoyed it a lot more, and there was a lot of kind of fun to fantasize a bit about Kylac and his sexual adventures. Well, it was very kind of death-defying, or really perilous journey, especially some of the planets. It's there's scenes where they're really fucked up, both Kylac and Deckard, and it's just how are you guys not tired as fuck and just want to lie down and die? One of the cool things towards the end is there's this planet with these similar to dragons, kind of sentient species, and Kylak was lucky enough to be fucked by one, and it's kind of funny because there's like some line that Decker had. It's like, oh, you know, you were so fueled by crone semen that you tried to fight everyone when you got back, or something like that. And it played with plot relevant things at the time, and it was actually really cool. And then the sex fruit of Mez, which was actually pretty fun. Like that was a really nice planet and a really nice scene. Just that and the Proxima one, like they were really nicely placed. Like these places where it let you and the characters rest for a bit. And yeah. So Dangerous Sports is the first in the Archeon's trilogy series of books. I mean, it's probably a bit late now, but don't read the blurb for the next one, Dangerous Experiments, until you've read Dangerous Sports, because it's massive spoilers. Thankfully, I was really stupid. Like, I read the blurb for Dangerous Experiments, and I'm just like, oh, these guys are the bad guys. And then, like, I got to the end, and I'm like, oh, did I read that? Was the blurb wrong? Like, no, don't know what I was reading. Because it was nothing, there was, like, nothing about anything on the back of that blurb, and I'm like, yeah, so thankfully I was too stupid enough to give myself spoilers. So yeah, I'm really excited for Dangerous Experiments. It comes out next month, I think it is. Soon. So I've pre-ordered my ebook. Yeah, so I would totally recommend Dangerous Sports. It is self-published, so it's not at any of the fairy presses. So I'll give you plenty of links that you can find it, and the ebooks, and I would totally recommend it. My knees. Yeah, I've been on my knees this whole time. So the other things I wanted to point out is like, so this top shelf is going to be the showcase shelf. I probably should mention it at the start, but it seems a bit rude doing that before I talk about a book, but I'll work out something. So we've got White Crusade by Ben Goodrich, which I really need to read because he's got a new book coming out. It looks fucking sick. I'm pretty sure it's a prequel to White Crusade, or it's heavily related. And then he's got the other book, Found One Apocalypse, and then there's another one somewhere, which I forgot. Next one is, before I move on, White Crusade is actually the first furry book I ever got. I got that, a Fur Nation magazine, and something else from Fur Planet when I was like, not old enough. So Cold Blood, Fatal, my knees. So Cold Blood, Fatal Favors by Bill Kiefer, which I'm probably in the mood to read now. Like I wanted to read it, and then I was just not in the mood for something so dark. So once I've read probably the next couple of things, I'll get onto that. And then the next one is Buster Wild Werewolf, which is an old furry comic strip from back in the day. I'm thinking mid-90s it started and ended in 2001. It's quite... I mean, this one was published in 2011. But yeah, I'm really not too sure on its history. I just know it is well loved in the fandom, and that's not going to stay up, is it? Yeah, it's well loved in the fandom, and it's really cool. I probably should, once this is done, I should just go read it. So that was by, was it Scott Zellman? Yeah, Scott Zellman. The cover is glow in the dark, which is actually really cool. I'm pretty sure they still sell it at Fur Planet. They're better, to be honest. And then, my knees again. The other shelf is my Jaffa bookshelf, which I don't know if people know, but sadly at the end of this year they're gonna stop trading. Going to be closing, which is quite sad because Clawed Away to Victory is one of my all-time favourite anthologies in the fandom. Well, I haven't read every story, I've read like 65%, and they're all fucking amazing. Like some highlights are James L. Steele's Discus Dog. I'm pretty sure that was the name of it. Yeah, Discus Dog. And then oops. Oh god, doesn't stay up. And then Husky Tears Ping Pong Diplomacy is another really good one. So I'm going to be ordering the rest of the Jaffa Books catalogue throughout the year, so hopefully this will be filled with all their published titles. I've got some coming in the mail, hopefully in the next few days. Hopefully this has been alright. The audio is probably pretty bad, like the quality. Obviously, things I need to work on is I need to work out a proper stand, so I'm not on my knees. They're killing me right now. And maybe soundproofing this room a bit. But I'm pretty excited to be doing this. So I've been Reyfar, and I'll catch you later.